LMGs are typically known for their larger ammo pools and higher material penetration than assault rifles, at the cost of slow mobility and handling. This makes them more niche options that are better suited for a passive playstyle, such as holding down positions. In this video, we'll be ranking every LMG in Call of Duty Mobile in a tier list, from worst to best. Disclaimer, the weapons within each tier are not in any particular order, so if I mention one gun before another in the same tier, that doesn't mean it's better or worse. Starting with the least, we have the F tier. This is reserved for weapons that heavily struggle in the current meta and are completely outclassed by other options. And the only weapon that goes into the ugly boy corner is the S36. This LMG is good for one thing and one thing only, having a very long potential 4-tap range. Outside of that though, it doesn't have much else going for it. Painfully slow ADS time, awkward recoil, and while its BSA is decent, that applies to every other LMG. Its time to kill is competitive, but it's nothing special compared to some of the other weapons here. In fact, there are at least 3 LMGs in which their sole purpose is to be better than the S36. Next, we move on to the D tier. This is for weapons that are generally underwhelming but not completely unusable. In this tier, we have the Holger 26. What was once an absolute menace in ranked has now been power crept into oblivion. Now, the Holger has very mediocre range and time to kill. Its ADS time is also only slightly faster than the S36, but it makes up for this in its ease of use, having some of the easiest recoil amongst LMGs and surprisingly fast strafe speed. This means that even your grandma can use this in ranked and more than likely perform well. But if you're decently competent, you will want to use other options. Also, in terms of ease of use, there are other LMGs that do this better. Another D-tier LMG is the M4 LMG. This gun's actually quite interesting, since it has the potential to 3-tap up to the impressive 35 meters for an amazing time to kill of 195 milliseconds. But the problem here is that it's not consistent enough to be worth using, due to the restrictive multipliers, which means, more often than not, you're going to end up with a time to kill of 280 milliseconds, which by today's standard is not very good. And with the rest of its stats being mediocre at best, it's quite hard to justify using it over the other 3-tap LMGs. Moving on to the C tier. Here, we have weapons that are viable but just aren't strong enough to compete with the current meta. Remember when I said that there are LMGs that only serve to be better than the S36? This is one of them. The Hades is also the first of what I like to call the super assault rifles, combining the handling of an assault rifle with the utility of an LMG. For the LMG, it has surprisingly fast ADS time, and above average movement speed while also having a decent time to kill profile. The downside here is that it has a rather short 4-tap range, and if you want to have good BSA, you'll have to deal with a visible laser, which for some is a major red flag. The Chopper also earns a spot in the C tier. You can think of this as a morbidly obese version of the Hades. The time to kill and range are very similar, but you do lose quite a bit of mobility and handling for a much larger mag size. Now we have the B tier. This is where most of the off-meta weapons go, which can compete with the current meta, but won't be your best pick. The most niche of these weapons is the RPD. Its overall stats are quite mediocre. Slow handling, slow time to kill, okay range. But what it does have is unlimited ammo thanks to the cooling compressor barrel. So as long as you don't hold down the trigger for too long, you can pretty much put any section of the map on lockdown like it's 2020. Especially since the gun also has very low recoil. But if you prefer a more active playstyle, this might not be the weapon for you. We talked about S36 upgrades, but the Bruin Mark IX is the epitome of a direct upgrade. It takes the already excellent 4-tap range of the S36, but combines it with better mobility, handling that's on par with assault rifles, and way less recoil. It even has the potential to 3-tap in the initial range if you land a single headshot. This weapon would have been ranked much higher if not for 2 main reasons. First of all, reserve ammo, because for some reason the developers thought it would be a good idea to give it 2 reserve mags instead of the usual 4, so you will find yourself running out of ammo quite often. The visual shake also makes it quite uncomfortable to use if you don't have the legendary. The UL-736 is basically a heavy main assault rifle with a colossal 4-tap range of 45 meters, which basically covers every range you can find in standard multiplayer, and the potential to 3-tap for a time to kill of 194 milliseconds. It also has good mobility and ADS time for an LMG. The downside is that the 3-tap isn't the most consistent, requiring all 3 shots to hit above the stomach. If you land even a single shot below the upper body, you are stuck with a time to kill of 291 milliseconds, which is not very good considering that we have guns that kill in less than 200. The Dingo is a bit of an oddball because it's quite literally just an assault rifle with the LMG label slapped onto it. Now before some of you say, why not use an actual assault rifle? I want you to imagine this with me real quick. Type 19, with worse recoil and strafe speed, but in return, you get slightly faster fire rate and ADS time. Strange I know, considering it's an LMG, along with better wall bang and bullet impact. That is a Dingo in a nutshell. Now for full transparency, the recoil is quite problematic, especially for range, which is why it's not higher on the list. But the point is, the Dingo is a lot better than most people think it is. Speaking of overhated weapons, we have the newly added Raal. Some people have already been saying that it's as bad as a Lag-53, when that is simply not the case. The Raal has an impressive 3-tap range of 40 meters with a time to kill of 210 milliseconds, along with 100% wall bang damage, which allows you to quickly take out enemies behind cover. It also has very good hipfire accuracy, which comes in clutch within closer ranges. What holds the weapon back is the mobility and handling, which are some of the slowest in the entire game, making it ludicrously inflexible, which is a big problem in the current meta. A tier is reserved for weapons that are almost meta but just have that one tiny problem that holds it back from being top tier. The only weapon here is a PKM. This is basically the Raal that trades a bit of range for a faster fire rate, which results in an incredibly fast time to kill of 195 milliseconds. It also has a larger mag size than the Raal while having a better movement speed. So not only is it better at holding down lanes, it can also rotate to those positions faster. This gun would have been meta if not for the incredibly slow ADS time, making it difficult to use in a meta that is very hostile towards slower weapons. Saving the best for last, we have the S tier, which is where all the meta weapons go, and I'm sure we all know which gun belongs here. The MG42. This gun checks all the boxes for an LMG. Extremely easy recoil, a super forgiving fire rate, competitive time to kill, good range, decently fast ADS time for an LMG, a large ammo pool of 125 rounds, and the ability to have both increased wall bang damage and disable at the same time. While yes, it doesn't have the same lethality potential of the PKM and Raal, or the fast handling of the Dingo and Bruin Mark 9, the fact that the MG42 has a balance of every stat while being extremely easy to use is what earns it the title as best overall LMG. And that wraps up our entire LMG tier list. Let us know in the comments what is your favorite LMG to use, and if you found the video helpful, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. This has been iSleep, going dark.